Hello everybody, this video is about how to script in Microbot. So there's three elements that you need to understand. That's Java, the RuneLite API, and the Microbot RS2 util classes. And in this video we're going to cover Java. Right, so let's start with Java. Now I've listed a few things which will be really necessary to know going into this, and we're going to go over them right now. So to start, our commands. This is very simple. You're going to command the script to do something. The second is if statements. This is also quite simple. You're going to say now, if this condition is met, then do this command. So these commands and if statements are going to be done inside classes, and classes are inside packages. And finally, we're going to go over the symbols that are necessary to give commands, to invoke methods, and to adequately write these statements. So first, let's just go over what is Java. Java is a language, a computer language, and like any language, it has certain syntax, it has certain ways of being written correctly, and so this is what we're exploring in this section. And so coming out of this, you're going to be learning a computer language which is used by billions of computers all over the world. It's a very useful skill, and it's great that this project allows video game players that would otherwise just be wasting their time to actually learn something new and useful. So, right, let's get going. So, here we go. This is our command that we did in the previous videos. This is the only piece of script writing that was explored there, and it's microbot.log, open bracket, quotation marks, hello, close quotation, close brackets, and then a semicolon. So, we will break this down. Microbot is a class. It's a plugin inside of RuneLite. And so it's a plugin class. And so you're invoking that plugin class, you're opening it up with the full stop, and then you're using one of its methods, which is called log. So you've invoked this method, which is log, which has a bunch of code behind it, which prints something into the chat box of the RuneScape game. So you've invoked that method, but now you have to feed it something. You have to let it know what you want to print. And so this is where we use the brackets. So brackets are involved with the majority of methods, and it is giving them their substance essentially. And sometimes you just need to put an open bracket and a closed bracket, and that invokes the method perfectly. Other times you have to put things inside the brackets. That means that all the code that's behind it, that's behind that method that you've invoked with that full stop, is needing for you to feed it something. So in this example of microbot.log, we want to have it type out, we want to have it print out a message. And so we could just write the message, but when you look further into what is required, it's a string message, and string messages in Java are given by quotation marks. So a string is basically words, right? Just words. They don't have any strength behind them for the most part. They're just words. So if you want to just put words in Java, you put them in quotation marks. Otherwise, every single word you're writing has a potency because it has a previous declaration in a class or in the overlying script. And so we feed in here hello, the string with the quotation marks, because that's how you signify just normal words. We then want to close this bracket because every method that you call will require a close and open bracket. We want to close this bracket saying this is the message we want to get across through the method of the log, which is inside of the Microbot plugin class. And then you want to say, right, so this is my command in its entirety, and you close that off by putting the semicolon. The semicolon closes all commands, and it means that the script will be reading that. When it sees that semicolon, it realizes, right, this is done now, and it'll move on to the next section. So that's the very basic understanding of what commands are and how they work. So let's go on to the next section. Next section is if statements. So it's very simple. If statements are essentially their own method in Java, right? So this comes from ancient Java. We're not invoking the Microbot client. We're not invoking RuneLite API. We're invoking the basic Java. So this is how the if method works. So you have the if, and then you open up the brackets, and then afterwards you close and open, or open and close squiggly brackets. And it's very simple. It's like it says there. If these conditions are met, those are in the normal brackets, then do this, which is inside the squiggly brackets. Okay? So the example that we have here is if, open bracket, rs2 player dot is in combat. Now, dot is in combat is its own method, so we do an open and close bracket there. It's a Boolean, which means it's a true or false thing, so it's either true or false, that method. So we don't really have to insert anything because it's already inserted, because it's in the rs2 player class, which involves the player. So it's already asking, is the player in combat? So we give that its open and close bracket, and then we close that off. So that is our conditions, if these conditions are met inside the normal bracket. So if I'm in combat, now we want to do this. So we open up a squiggly bracket, and what we want to do, for example, is put microbot.log, and then I'm in combat, so we open up the bracket, we put the quotation marks, that's the message we want to send. We close the bracket, and then we put a semicolon, which is the end of our statement inside of that do this squiggly bracket, and then we close the squiggly bracket. So we say do this and just do this, there's nothing more I want you to do, just if I'm in combat, print this. So that's the essentialities of the if statement. And now we're going to talk about classes and packages. So you can imagine a package as kind of like a school, and inside the school you have classes, and inside the classes you have, well, students, or you have a teacher who gives a lesson, and students that receive the lesson and write things and produce something, right? So in this case, the students, or the system of the class and how it operates, is called the methods. So RuneLite is essentially a package, and RuneLite has plugins, and these plugins are also packages, but inside these packages are classes, and even inside the main package are classes, and obviously inside every class are a variety of methods that are either created there or invoked from other classes. So when you are creating your script, you are creating a new package, but how we do it in Microbot is to just make things easy, is we just go inside the already created package, which is the example package, and we mess around in the script class there just to get the ball rolling, okay? There are different classes inside the package of the example script. You have the overlay class, you have the plugin class, and the config class, and each one of these are important in their own right. However, the way that these classes are set up is that you can just get going and just put in your script in the script class and invoke methods, create your own methods. And so this is what classes and packages are about, because we've mentioned them a lot, classes, and they're essentially files, essentially text files, and packages are essentially folders, and methods are, inside of the classes are written things which invoke other classes, which invoke other packages, and which are inside of other packages, and then eventually the base foundation of Java, all the methods in the end are bouncing off of. So that is classes and packages. And to end off this video, we're just going to review all the symbols, okay? So you can take a screenshot of this, or you can come back to the video if you're confused. But essentially, whenever we write a command, we put a semicolon at the end. So if we are invoking a method, if we're invoking a class which has a method, when we are telling the script to, okay, stop reading, this is all we want to do, you put a semicolon. And if you remember, if you've watched the video up until this point, we use the full stop when we command a class. That's when we bring up a class, we use the full stop to invoke its methods, and then we're going to use the open and close bracket at the end of all methods for the most part, and then a semicolon at the end of the method to say, right, I've invoked the method and that's all I want to do. obviously, as well, sometimes you have to put something inside those brackets, value, item ID, a variety of things. But there are a lot of methods which don't require you to put anything in there. The example that we went over, microbot.log, requires you to put in a string. The string, if we remember, is used with quotation marks. And yeah, so the difference with if statements is that, just like methods, it uses the open and close brackets. However, inside the curly brackets is where you put the semicolon. You don't put the semicolon outside the curly brackets, because the if statement assumes that when you've closed the curly bracket, that is the end of your if statement, and it assumes correctly because it is the end of the if statement. So you want to put your semicolon inside the commands and the methods that you invoke. You want to put them inside the curly brackets. You want to put the semicolon, because that's where your commands are being done in the if statement. While every if statement will require you to put something in the brackets, conditions. And so if you want a refresher of the if statements, go back to the section of the video that talks about that.